On a bitter January morning in 1944, the frozen fields of Belarus became the stage for one of the most grueling confrontations of the Eastern Front. As Soviet forces under Marshal Rokossovsky pounded through the snow towards German positions, Field Marshal Model's men braced for a conflict that would be remembered for its sheer brutality and tactical intensity. As artillery shells shattered the icy silence of Belarus in early 1944, the intense rivalry between German Field Marshal Walter Model and Soviet Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky ignited into a fiery struggle. On the frostbitten terrain of the Eastern Front, this initial confrontation set the stage for a brutal attrition warfare that was as much a battle against nature as against each other. The strategic significance of the northern pincer made it a focal point in the clash of these titanic forces, as both sides sought to secure a decisive breakthrough that could turn the tide of the war. Marshal Rokossovsky, commanding the Soviet First Belarusian Front, had amassed a force of over 300,000 men, equipped with 3,400 artillery pieces and 500 tanks. His plan, crafted in the war rooms of the Soviet High Command, was to pierce through the German defenses and encircle their forces in Belarus. Across the line, Field Marshal Model, a tactician known for his defensive genius, fortified positions with about 250,000 troops of the German Ninth Army, backed by 2,300 artillery pieces. Model was well aware of the Soviet numerical superiority and prepared for a drawn-out defensive battle. The first clashes were as harsh as the winter itself. On January 12, 1944, under the cover of a heavy snowstorm, Soviet forces launched a massive artillery barrage that lasted for hours, signaling the beginning of the offensive. According to the diary entry of a young Soviet soldier, Ivan Petrov, the earth itself trembled under the relentless Soviet barrage, a prelude to the hellish months that followed. The German response was swift and lethal, with counter-barrages tearing through the advancing Soviet infantry. The battlefields, laden with snow and ice, became graveyards of men and machines. Tanks struggled to maneuver, and infantrymen fought not just the enemy, but frostbite and hypothermia. Rokossovsky himself noted in a dispatch to Stalin, "The cold bites into flesh and steel alike, but our spirits remain heated by the quest for victory." In response, Model, in a communication to Hitler, emphasized the resilience of his troops. "My men are fighting with the ferocity of wolves cornered in the deep winter woods. We shall hold, my Führer, or freeze in defense of the Reich." The brutality of the combat was epitomized during an encounter near the village of Krishev, where Soviet 5th Guards tank army clashed with the German 12th Panzer Division. The battle raged for days, with neither side yielding. A German sergeant, Karl Schmidt, recounted in a letter home, "Every inch of earth was contested with a fury that I had never seen before. The Soviets keep coming, wave after wave, no matter the losses." Meanwhile, on the Soviet side, a captured German bunker served as a makeshift hospital where dozens of wounded Red Army soldiers lay, a testament to the savagery of the fight. As both sides dug in, the battle escalated beyond mere skirmishes, setting the stage for a series of brutal engagements. The stakes were extraordinarily high, with both commanders aware that the outcome of this northern pincer could influence the broader war effort significantly. Each day brought new challenges, from managing dwindling supplies to dealing with the psychological toll on the troops. The relentless Soviet push and the stubborn German resistance ensured that the battle line was a fluid mix of chaos and order, marked by moments of heroism and horror. The opening salvo of this battle thus not only marked the physical clash of armies, but also the beginning of a grueling test of wills between Model and Rokossovsky. This confrontation would carve its mark into the annals of the Eastern Front, remembered for its strategic implications, human cost, and the sheer determination of those who fought. As we delve deeper into the details of this northern inferno, the echoes of artillery and the whispers of strategy reveal a tapestry of courage, desperation, and relentless ambition. As the battle raged on during the winter months of 1943 to 44, Field Marshal Walter Model, known for his defensive prowess, implemented a series of fortified positions along the Narva line. These fortifications, often referred to as Model's Wall, were designed to halt the advancing Soviet forces under Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky. Model's strategy relied heavily on deep trench systems, anti-tank ditches, and reinforced concrete bunkers. He believed that these static defenses would sap the momentum of the Soviet offensive, which had been gaining ground since their victory at Stalingrad. On the opposing side, Rokossovsky, commanding the Second Belarusian Front, was devising a plan to breach these formidable defenses. His approach was characterized by the use of combined arms tactics, where he coordinated infantry, armor, and artillery to devastating effect. In February 1944, Rokossovsky launched a series of pincer movements aimed at encircling Model's forces. These maneuvers were evident in the battles for the towns of Narva and Tannenberg Line, where Soviet troops attempted to outflank the German defenses. Rokossovsky's strategy was to create multiple points of pressure, forcing Model to commit his reserves prematurely and weaken his defensive line. The intensity of the conflict escalated as both commanders poured more resources into the fray. Model managed to secure additional divisions from the German High Command, aware that his sector was critical to preventing a Soviet breakthrough into East Prussia. In a testimony found in the diaries of a German officer, he noted, "The reinforcements were a godsend. Without them, our lines would have crumbled under the Soviet hammer." Meanwhile, Rokossovsky's forces were bolstered by fresh divisions from the Soviet reserves, including several tank brigades equipped with the new T-34 tanks. The battle's toll on supply lines was acute. The harsh winter conditions rendered many roads impassable, complicating the logistics for both sides. Model's forces faced severe shortages of ammunition and fuel, a situation described by a German logistics officer in a recovered report. "The supply situation is dire. We are down to our last shells and the next convoy is days away." Conversely, Soviet supply lines, though stretched, were better maintained, thanks to the relentless efforts of their rear echelons. The effective Soviet logistics were crucial in maintaining the momentum of their offensive, as noted in a communiqué from Rokossovsky to his superiors, stating, "Our men are well supplied and morale is high. Victory is within our grasp if we maintain our pressure." As the attrition warfare continued, the human cost mounted dramatically. Both sides experienced staggering casualties, with tens of thousands of soldiers lost in the relentless fighting. The psychological toll on the troops was immense, leading to exhaustion, despair, and in some cases, desertion. The diary of a Soviet soldier, recovered post-war, provides a poignant insight into the conditions at the front. "Every day we lose more comrades. The cold is unbearable, and the Germans keep coming at us. I fear I will not see my home again." This sentiment captures the grim reality faced by soldiers entrenched in one of the Eastern Front's most unforgiving battles. With the battle wearing on both armies physically and psychologically, the human cost began to mount, leading to drastic measures. Rokossovsky and Model, aware of the stakes, continued to press their men forward, each determined to outlast the other. The ferocity of the conflict was such that neither side could relent without risking a complete collapse, setting the stage for further brutal encounters as they strove for victory at tremendous cost. This deadly game of chess, played with the lives of thousands, underscored the harsh realities of warfare on the Eastern Front, where strategic brilliance and costly blunders were inherently interwoven, leading to a saga of perseverance amid devastation. As the relentless winter of 1943 enveloped the Eastern Front, The human toll of the conflict between German Field Marshal Walter Model and Soviet Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky's forces became excruciatingly apparent. Among the Soviet ranks, Private Ivan Kuznetsov, a 24-year-old soldier from Moscow, penned a poignant letter on December 5th, describing the unending blasts and screams that blend into a grim symphony of death. His words captured not just the physical, but the profound emotional and psychological scars that the brutal warfare inflicted. On the German side, Hauptmann Friedrich Adler, a company commander, recounted in his diary the harrowing conditions during the siege of Leningrad, noting on January 7, 1944, how the men's spirits are as frozen as their bodies, reflecting the dire situation where soldiers were often left without adequate winter gear. Adler's detailed entries spoke volumes about the desperation that led to acts of unthinkable heroism. One such instance involved Corporal Hans Müller, who, despite severe frostbite, led a charge to reclaim a crucial supply route, only to fall mere meters from his objective. His act was posthumously awarded, but for the men of Adler's company, it was a stark reminder of their perilous existence. The psychological warfare was just as intense. Soviet sniper Lyudmila Pavlichenko, stationed near Novgorod, recorded over 300 confirmed kills by the end of 1943. Her memoirs reveal the mental fortitude required to endure such a role, writing, "Each shot carries a burden heavier than the rifle." Her presence and success stories were morale boosters for her comrades, but also highlighted the immense personal cost of such a grim duty. The battle conditions were unforgiving. Sergeant Nikolai Petrov of the Red Army described the January 1944 offensive near Kolm. "We advanced under the cover of darkness with temperatures below -30 degrees Celsius. The frostbite claimed more of us than the enemy bullets." Such accounts underscore the relentless nature of the Eastern Front, where survival meant enduring beyond the limits of human resilience. Acts of desperation merged with those of incredible bravery. On February 12, 1944, during an intense confrontation at Staraya Russa, a platoon led by Lieutenant Mikhail Borodin found themselves encircled by German forces. In a daring move, Borodin orchestrated a nighttime escape through a minefield, a gamble that miraculously succeeded with minimal casualties, showcasing not only tactical ingenuity, but also raw human courage. The attrition warfare took its toll on troop morale across both sides. German soldier Erich Hoffmann, in a letter dated March 1944, lamented, "Each day is a repeat of the last, with the line between friend and foe blurring amidst the snow and blood." This sentiment was mirrored in the diary of Soviet Lieutenant Anna Kovalenko, who wrote on March 15, 1944, of the pain of losing close comrades and the growing numbness to death. As the battle reached its peak, with lives lost in thousands and both sides nearing exhaustion, the strategic breakthroughs and blunders began shaping the final phases of this epic confrontation. The personal stories of soldiers like Kuznetsov, Adler, Müller, Pavlichenko, Petrov, Borodin, Hoffmann, and Kovalenko, while a testament to human spirit and resilience, also painted a grim portrait of the war, where each strategic maneuver meant a balance between gaining ground and the irreplaceable human cost. These narratives, laden with the weight of sacrifice and the will to persevere, were fundamental to understanding the complexity and brutality of the conflict that was much more than a mere military engagement. The pivotal moments in the Northern Inferno began to take shape around the brutal winter of 1943, when Soviet forces, under Konstantin Rokossovsky, executed a series of breakthroughs that would eventually cripple the German defenses. On December 16th, amidst the harsh Russian winter, the Soviets launched Operation Mars, targeting the German-held positions near Smolensk. Utilizing a combination of massed artillery fire and armored assaults, the Red Army punched through the initial defenses, unsettling Field Marshal Walter Model's strategic positioning. Model, known for his defensive genius, failed to anticipate the intensity of the Soviet assault. On the front lines, German troops recounted the night of December 21st, as described by Corporal Hans Müller. The sky was lit as if in daylight, with flares and exploding shells. Our trenches were obliterated within hours. The German command structure wobbled as communication lines were severed by successive Soviet barrages. Model's usual tactical resilience was undercut by the ferocity and scale of the Soviet offense, marking a strategic error that led to significant vulnerabilities within the German lines. As the battle raged on, intelligence played a crucial role. Soviet counterintelligence had successfully intercepted German communications, detailing supply routes which were subsequently targeted. By mid-January 1944, Rokossovsky's troops had effectively cut off several critical supply lines, resulting in a dire shortage of ammunition and winter gear among German forces. The role of Soviet spies, like Ivan Kozhedub, who infiltrated German ranks, provided Rokossovsky with invaluable insights into the weakening morale and logistical issues plaguing Model's troops. The emotional peak of the Soviet campaign came in late January, when the 11th Guards Army broke through near Kolm. Lieutenant Maria Petrova, a Soviet tank commander, captured the desperation and determination of the moment, stating, "We knew every inch we claimed was soaked in the blood of our brothers. But our spirits were high. We felt the tide turning." This advance was not just a tactical win, but a psychological blow to the German defenders, signaling the crumbling of the once impervious German Eastern Front. Model's response was a desperate attempt to rally his forces. He ordered a counterattack on February 3, 1944, despite the dwindling supplies and the exhausted state of his troops. It was a critical mistake. The counterattack stretched his forces too thin, exacerbating their vulnerability. The Soviets, sensing the weakness, intensified their offensive, engulfing the German positions in a relentless push that saw little mercy on either side. By late February, the cumulative impact of Soviet military strategy, coupled with Model's strategic missteps and the effective use of intelligence by the Soviets, led to a breakthrough at the Siege of Leningrad. The lifting of the siege not only marked a significant Soviet victory, but also heralded the beginning of the end for German aspirations in the Eastern Front. The fall of Leningrad was a turning point. It propelled Soviet forces into a series of offensives that would eventually push the German forces westward, back into their territory. With the outcome nearly decided, the aftermath and implications of the battle began to take shape. The Northern Inferno, as it came to be known, was not merely a series of military maneuvers, but a testament to human resilience and strategic acumen. For Model and Rokossovsky, it was a defining moment in their military careers, encapsulating the brutal reality of warfare, where strategic brilliance and the stark cost of human lives were inexorably intertwined. The shift in momentum was undeniable, setting the stage for the impending Soviet push towards Berlin, forever altering the course of the war on the Eastern Front. The aftermath of the ferocious confrontations between Field Marshal Walter Model and Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky in the Northern Pincer highlighted a pivotal shift in the dynamics of World War II's Eastern Front. Following the intense battles, notably culminating around late 1944, Soviet forces gained substantial ground. The relentless Soviet push, energized by strategic mastery and brutal attrition, left the German forces reeling, leading to a significant reevaluation of their defensive strategies. The strategic implications were immediate and profound. Rokossovsky's successful operations not only recaptured key territories, but also effectively disrupted the German command structure. By early 1945, the Wehrmacht found themselves stretched perilously thin, a direct result of the manpower and material losses suffered during these clashes. The battles around the Northern Pincer, especially near the Latvian borders, were marked by an estimated 200,000 German casualties, a staggering number that contributed heavily to the weakening of Nazi Germany's eastern defenses. Soviet losses were equally severe, with approximately 180,000 casualties, underscoring the brutal cost of their Pyrrhic victory. Politically, the outcome boosted Soviet morale and solidified Stalin's confidence in his military leadership, particularly in Rokossovsky, whose stock rose dramatically within the Red Army's echelons. The victory lent significant credibility to the Soviets' claim of liberating Eastern Europe from Nazi oppression, a narrative vital for Stalin's post-war plans. In contrast, the German High Command's failure accelerated Hitler's loss of trust in his military advisors, including Model, who faced increasing scrutiny and criticism. Insights into the human aspect of this conflict emerge vividly from first-hand accounts. An excerpt from the diary of a German soldier, Friedrich Kellner, dated November 1944, starkly illustrates the despair within the ranks. Our lines are thinning daily. Each man knows his turn is near. Meanwhile, Soviet soldier Anatoly Petrov, in a letter to his family, wrote, "Victory feels imminent, but at what cost? We march over lands reaped by death." These personal reflections encapsulate the profound human suffering endured by both sides, framing the conflict's legacy in terms of its immense human cost. The tactical and operational lessons gleaned from the confrontation between Model and Rokossovsky went on to influence subsequent military strategies on both sides. The Soviets, recognizing the effectiveness of combined arms operations and deep battle tactics showcased in the northern pincer, refined these approaches in their final push towards Berlin. For the Germans, the battles underscored the dire need for mobile reserves and better logistic sustainability, lessons that arrived too late to alter the course of the war, but influenced post-war military thinking in the West. Reflecting on the legacies of Model and Rokossovsky, it becomes apparent how their leadership styles and decisions during these crucial moments left indelible marks on military history. Rokossovsky's ability to adapt and execute complex strategies under pressure exemplified the evolving Soviet military doctrine, while Model's tenacious defense, albeit ultimately unsuccessful, demonstrated a tactical acumen respected by both allies and adversaries. The echoes of their clash still resonate, offering profound lessons on leadership, strategy, and the costs of war. The battles between these formidable tacticians underscore not only the strategic shifts on the Eastern Front, but also the relentless human spirit prevailing amid the horrors of war. Their legacy, studied in military academies around the world, continues to inform contemporary strategic thought, reminding us of the thin line between victory and sacrifice. This pivotal chapter in World War II thus serves not only as a historical account of strategic genius and resilience, but also as a sobering reminder of the grave costs associated with monumental conflict. Through the icy fields of Belarus to the strategic map rooms of Model and Rokossovsky, the Northern Inferno was more than a military engagement. It was a testament to human endurance, tactical brilliance, and the relentless pursuit of victory at any cost. This brutal attrition on the northern pincer reshaped the Eastern Front and left a lasting imprint on the annals of military history. If you enjoyed this story, hit the subscribe button for more fascinating historical deep dives every week. Thanks for watching.